There's lots of stuff I should do. Yay, I'm recording on my Yeti. I am testing out my new Twitch setup down in my basement on my PC. I had been using my Mac for OBS, and the Mac and OBS don't get along. If you are not fans of the Mac, I do not need your criticism about my use of a Mac. Anyway, it is apparently much faster, and I'm dropping almost no frames when I run here. I thought I would talk a little bit. I know it's weird. I'm streaming at 5:30 on a Monday, but I have some extra time. I finished some of my work early, and I thought I would hop on and talk about how my D&D game went yesterday. On previous shows, I talked about the prep that I did before a game, and I've had some people that said, hey, how do you... we'd sure love to look at like how it worked out. Because as you can imagine, a lot of times it doesn't work out. I need to get my chat window so I can see people talking. Where's the pop out? Pop out. There we go. So now I can minimize that and stick that up there, and I can see people chat. Hello, everybody. If you're in chat, sound off so I can see if you're there. I say hello. So I have been running Tomb of Annihilation. I'm running it for two different groups. The group that I am talking about now is my Sunday group. They've been playing it longer. And the last big part of their session was going to Jahaka Bay, which is where... Oh, and this is full of spoilers. So if you happen to be watching this stream and you happen to be in either of my games, or... And that means you, Mike, if you happen to be watching... or you are planning on planning on playing Tomb of Annihilation, you probably want to skip this, because I'm going to talk about some spoilers. Although a lot of what I'm doing is different than the adventure, but still there will be spoilers. So guess what? There are pirates in Jahaka Bay, that Jahaka anchorage. And in my game, at least on my Sunday game, they were vampire pirates. The characters became aware of the fact that the pirate captains are 3 vampires. And they have 3 ships, and each ship has a storm that follows the ship. And it means that the ship is in perpetual darkness, which means the vampires have free reign to walk around, and they don't have to worry about their coffins, and they can go raid and plunder. That was one of the things that the characters discovered in yesterday's game, was they found the source of how, hey, Grant is here. Hi, Grant. I sent you a gift, Grant. I don't know if you saw it. I emailed you a present to check out. I lost my train of thought. You know what I should do is I should retweet the fact that I'm on here, just so people know that I'm on here. Let me retweet that. Retweet. It's weird to retweet your own tweets. That feels weird. So, the session began. The characters had been. I'll quickly summarize 2 sessions. They showed up at Jahaka Bay. They saw the big storms. They saw that there was a bunch of bandits and darklings and a vampire captain, just as the ship known as the Emerald Eye. The Emerald Eye was pulling into the port. So that was kind of the big event, is seeing the ship come in, one of the 3 pirate ships coming in. I randomly selected the Emerald Eye. I really like to use little random things. I'm becoming much more of a fan of using random, Grant in chat was just talking about using random charts that he now has in his possession to add some randomness to games. And I think it, like, from an improvisation standpoint, it's really fun to not know exactly what's going to happen. Like, which one of the pirate captains is he going to face? Or is the party going to face? That's a lot of fun. So I randomly selected the Emerald Eye. They saw the Emerald Eye pulling in. The party saw that there's a vampire there, so they knew there was a vampire there. This is a little thing about encounter balance, too, that I'll talk about. And they came up with some cool stuff to... they created a big diversion, which was an illusion of a dwarven boat full of gold driving by a pirate hideout. And the pirates all went out to go get the gold from the dwarves. And that was lots of fun. And I enjoyed the pirates continually talking about the incredible detail of this boat, because it was like a major illusion. So they're like, wow. And like one guy sniffing the armpits of one of the dwarves. He's like, this guy even smells like a dwarf. This is amazing. Look at the scratch marks in the wood. they were incredibly. They were having a lot of fun with that. So anyway, they caused a revolt. They got a bunch of the prisoners that were kept there to revolt against the bandits. That worked well. They now have a bunch of people that are there. And they went onto the boat, and on the boat they found that there's an orb and a mirror, and there's a beam of energy going through the mirror into the orb. And when they look into the mirror, they actually see a chamber on the other side coming from a bigger orb, and that there's energy coming from the other orb through the mirror into the smaller orb that's creating the storm that's overhead. And that was kind of cool. So they then went to the vault of the vampire. The vampire pirates have a vault in Jahaka Bay. And they went to explore it. And the session began with them exploring that. So it was a little convoluted. So as we have here on the left is the steps. One of the things I like to do with this little show here, if one can even call it that, one of the things I'm doing is going through the steps of the Lazy Dungeon Master, the new refined steps of the book Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, which will be available this fall. There are 8 steps in this process, starting with who the characters are, how does the game start, what scenes might take place, what secrets and clues might they discover, what fantastic locations might get discovered, what NPCs might they meet, what monsters might they face, and what treasure will they acquire. Those are the 8 steps. You don't necessarily have to go through all 8 steps. I'm actually beginning to be a fan of only one step, which is just secrets. If you do nothing else, write down the secrets, which is very funny because the secrets were the one thing that wasn't in the original Lazy Dungeon Master, and it's one of the reasons why I wrote the new one, is because I think secrets are so powerful, and I keep doubling down on how powerful they are. One day I might find out that that's a huge mistake, and secrets are terrible, but so far they've been really working well for me. So I'm the characters. We went over the characters. I kind of had them in my mind when I was thinking about this. The game's starting, so they had to go find out that the orb was on the ship. I had to roll back the story a little bit because I already had them explore the ship and they didn't find that orb. So I said, your feeble minds could not comprehend the idea that you missed this scene. Here is this orb thing. And then I brought them back to this door. And the key to the door is this is a vampire vault, and the only people who are allowed in there are vampires. So the traps and the triggers and the keys are all vampire related. And so they have a big green door with a big devil face on it. Oh, cool. Tilda de Wilde is playing Ravenloft. I loved Ravenloft. That was I love Tomb of Annihilation. And I think if I had to guess, and you have to kind of, I'm a little biased because I'm right in the middle of it, but if I had to rank the hardback adventures, I would put still Curse of Strahd number 1 because I just love it. But I think Tomb of Annihilation is a solid number 2. That doesn't sound good. It is a great second module. It's really excellent. They hit that sort of not too wide, not too narrow, nice open area to explore. Really good system for doing the hex crawl. Lots of fantastic places to plunder. Lots of things you can go steal so much of that. They have a big chapter, but it's not like Storm King's Thunder where it's like here's a million places with 3 sentences each. Instead, they have more like Storm King or more like Curse of Strahd where you have lots of big meaty places with great maps done by Mike Schley. I really love it. Anyway, so they're at the Vampire Vault. So how does the Vampire Vault work? Well, if you have an undead hand, you can stick it in the door, and the door will open for you, because the only people that have that are vampires, and they're not really worried about other undead getting inside. It's just only the vampires are allowed in there. Well, the party couldn't figure that out. They took a dead hand and fed that in. That didn't work. And then they put a live hand in, and they took a butt ton of necrotic damage. So eventually what they did is they molded the earth around the door and basically broke the door out. And I'm like, well, the vampires, they didn't think of that. So the door comes crashing down, and they see a vault filled with money, just piles of it. And that's where we get to the treasure. They earned on the order, about 20,000, roughly 20,000 gold. A little bit more than that, but roughly 20,000 gold pieces. And these are level 6 characters. They just got 20,000 gold. So what are they going to do with 20,000 gold pieces? That's a tremendous amount of gold. Well, they can't carry it all for one, so there was that. And they found that not only is there gold, but there also is a kobold. I had originally named it him a were-rat, but I had a kobold mini on hand. And I said he is a kobold accountant named Rattail, who works for the vampires and is there. He has a great big ledger, and during this huge fight, he's protecting this ledger because it has all of the accounting of the money that they've gotten, and it's got valuable intelligence for the party to then bring back to Port Nyanzaru to say, hey, those jackass Flaming Fist mercenaries. By the way, the characters are Flaming Fist mercenaries, so that's interesting. That book is really important to them as a piece of intel to bring back to Port Nyanzaru and the merchant princes to say, hey, we found out what the whole deal is going on with vampires. So they're in this great hall, and they're like, great, and they said, hey, so they're talking to the kobold, and they say, hey, are there any surprises in here? And the kobold looks at them and widens his eyes and says, yes, so many surprises. And the guy who's inside the vault says, really? Like what? And then right behind him, he hears a voice that he's heard before who says, here's one, and he gets backstabbed for about 70 points of damage. He went from full hit points to 0 in a single assassination from a vampire assassin. It was a vampire assassin that they had met before. Her name is the Devil. She had a brother whose name was the Angel. They killed the Angel, and they stuck him in a latrine. And it was very funny because, they're arguing with her. They said something to her during this big fight, and she said, you took my brother and you killed him and threw him in a latrine. He was going to be like me. He was going to be like us, and you killed him before we could turn him. And they're like, hey, that was allegedly. The investigation is still ongoing. Well, they're the ones doing the investigation, so that's pretty funny. I enjoyed that part. So they are now fighting a vampire assassin. I gave her a move to be able to... She could move without provoking an opportunity attack. She could move really, really fast and kind of zip around and stab people. So that worked, but she got that first assassinate and really nailed somebody because it was like... She has I think it's 30 points on the... She has a 30-point main hit without the assassinate, and when it crits, it's 60 points. And then a poison, wyvern poison on her blade for another 24 points. So... I didn't crit the wyvern poison. I'm not sure if you're supposed to or not. I didn't crit it anyway, and it would have been a single killing strike otherwise. So the guy took 60 points straight, and then wyvern poison. So they're fighting her, and all of a sudden, then another guy shows up, and it's the real vampire. And I'm like, you turn around and you see this hulking pirate vampire, and he's got a seaman's axe in one hand and this weird black short sword in the other hand, and you think she's bad, and then you look at him and you're like, oh my god, right? You can just see death in this guy's eyes. And he was a full-fledged vampire, CR13 vampire. So they're fighting a CR13 vampire and a CR9 assassin in the same fight, and they are level 6, which is way beyond deadly. But they knew it was vampire. Like, what do they think? I think deep down players think like, oh, it's going to be balanced and fair. And you're like, no, not really. You better take note. So they fought him, but one thing I know about the vampires is that the vampire stat block, the CR13 is a real stretch for the vampire. It's like a good CR 8 or 9. He's not that tough. So they fought the vampire, they fought the assassin. It was just this brutal. Everybody dropped, I think, at least once. At one point, like one of the guys dropped the assassin knocked him down right in front of the vampire. The vampire picks him up and dives into his throat, chewing it with his bite, doing a critical amount of damage, 2 death saves on the attack, and he gets all this health back, right? And then drops the guy on the ground. So now that guy was rolling death saves. There was a big argument about whether or not we were doing hardcore rules or not. That was kind of fun. And he rolled 3 death saves with 1 failure left and made 3 successes in a row. So he did really well. Like he it was amazing that he survived. And he was like, I'm going to lose this character because we know what's going on. Anyway, great big fight. They killed the vampire. So I built this vampire vault, this 3-room vault, and I built it to be designed like a vampire would have it. So the main area is the treasure room, and then there's this weird necrotic door, like this misty black gate, and that goes into the room with the storm-bringing orb that they stole from the Shadowfell, and that's what's fueling the storms over the ships. And the party had a hell of a time getting through there. Finally, one guy did necrotic resistance and ran through it, and he made it to the other side, and he sees it, and he stares, and there's 2 other vampires in that room looking through the mirrors that are on the ship. So he sees the 2 other captains, and the captains say, we need to have a talk with you. You just killed one of our own, but don't destroy that orb. right? Because it's kind of critical to their thing. And the guy's like, yeah, start hitting the orb. And one of them charms him through the mirror. I think it was somebody had the idea in this chat that the vampires could use their charm through the mirror, which is pretty awesome. He failed to save, but then, I forget, something happened. The other party dragged him back before he could do anything. And then they all kind of got in that room and they broke the orb, and the vampires are like trying to negotiate. We have information for you. We can tell you what's going on here in Chult. All you have to do is just work with us. And the party's like, we don't like vampires. And they smash the orb. They smash the mirrors. All the storms go away. And when they look outside, the storms are gone and the ships start sailing away because the vampires are like, we got to get out of here. Now the vampires can no longer be on the decks of the ships. And their coffins are destroyed because the party figured out how to break through a wall, found 3 coffins, 1 coffin for each of the vampire lords, and they destroyed the coffins. So now the vampires have no place to rest and no storm. And they left. So now... Then the party's like, so we have 20,000 gold, and they look outside, and there's 50 people, and there's a ship, and they go, well, we now have a base of operations, we now have a crew, and we have a lot of money to pay them. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, and they're like, wouldn't it be great if we took over this place? And I'm like, I think that'd be a great idea. And so they are renaming Jahaka Bay. I don't think they have a name for it yet, and they're renaming the Emerald Eye, and they took half the 50, they have 50 people, they put 24 people on their ship and 26 people to take over the Jahaka Bay and rebuild it. And then I'm like, ooh, there's loyalty rules. So I pulled out my DMG and I started looking up the rules for loyalty, which I had never looked at before. You know, I'm a terrible dungeon master. I didn't even read these books. I finally read the monster manual, but I haven't read the DMG all the way through. And there's loyalty rules. And I started reading the loyalty rules. And it's really cool. Like, it starts with the lowest, you know, highest charisma of the characters, and it starts at this, and you kind of work your way up. And they said, yeah, we're you know, they wanted to cheap out and like not pay him the, hey, we rescued you, you guys should work for us. And like, we're not slaves. We're slaves to the vampires. We're not gonna be slaves to you. So they said, well, how about like a gold piece? And I looked and it's like, well, 2 gold pieces for a sailor. And I was like, that's probably about right. So all of a sudden they got the 20,000 gold, but they're starting to lose it. And they go, well, if we can pay basically all these people to stay in our base for 2 months for about 5,000 gold. So they set that aside. They kept it with the, with the accountant. They kept the accountant on staff. In fact, they gave him a staff. So now they called him a master. They said that the kobold is now, you know, their you know, master accountant. And he's going to keep track of all of their money. So I thought that was cool. So now they got all these new NPCs. They got the ship. They're going to sail the ship, you know, full crew sailing the ship back to Port Nyanzaru. And, you know, they're doing really well. So I think that is a really fantastic place to start. Like, I'm really excited about how that game went. It was way too hard. I knew it was, I knew it was deadly, and I had a feeling like if the vampires win, they will probably like knock them out and then keep them prisoner and be like, who are you guys? And maybe, you know, I could have done more with that. I pulled my punches a little bit, and the players kind of knew I was pulling punches a little bit, but and they were like, don't pull punches, if we die, we die. But I'm like, yeah, I like your characters, I don't want to re-roll and all that. So they ended up winning, but the Mike Shea quick rules for encounter building told me right up front, you know, hey, if the CR is more than 2 higher than the characters, that's a deadly monster. And if there's more than one of them, it's really deadly. And this really was. So they had a good fight, but boy, they were down all the time. So I really don't know what's next. Next, they're going back to Port Nyanzaru. And I don't know how many people ran Tomb of Annihilation and had the characters return to Port Nyanzaru. But the cool bit is they're like, hey, we're going to keep some of these gems and jewelry, like gold rods and scepters, and we're going to keep that because we know we have to get through the dragon turtle, and we're going to give some of this stuff to the dragon turtle. I kind of like the idea of the dragon turtle with a little crown and a little scepter that he receives. Like, oh, I'm so happy I got my crown and my scepter. So, you know, I thought that would be fun. What else? I don't know who's in chat. Do you guys have any thoughts, questions? What are some of your top D&D topics that are on your guys' mind these days? I thought Matt Mercer's, just breaking away. First of all, if you have questions about my game, no one wants to hear about anyone else's game, but here we are. I thought Matt Colville's YouTube video about problem players and how to deal with problem players is very interesting. I've been very lucky that I've had to deal with very few problem players. I've never had, some of the stories I've heard are just harrowing, awful stories. And I'm glad to hear them because I think some of this stuff needs to be really, put it out there. And I think some of the public play games where you really don't know who's going to sit down at your table, it's like going to the DMV, and who knows what you're going to get. I thought his approach was very good, Colville's approach in the YouTube video. I did question the idea of addressing it with other people there, and I think a lot of people have. There's definitely a couple of people that have brought up the fact that you should kind of bring it up with them one-on-one. Grant, right now, the topic on my mind is prepping a convention survival guide. I happen to have, not to be that guy, let me load it up here. Hang on. I wrote a convention survival guide. There it is. Look at that. It has not been. I will probably update this a lot. This is not probably what you're looking for, Grant. You probably, I think, have some other details. I'll paste it in here. But I did write a general survival guide for people who are new to conventions. What do you need? And Gen Con in particular, and it's your Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need your water, get your food, carry everything with you, buy it there, pack a light burning kit, wash hands, don't shake hands, use the Iron Cross salute, and I've never found a perfect balance of signing up for games or keeping open times. I've run it sometimes. Yeah, man, my Arknight, it's not mine. Arknight makes them. I helped curate them, but it's their product. I brought that to 1D4Con this weekend, for those of you who are not familiar with this. So I helped curate this list of flat plastic minis right here. I will link that in the notes. I brought it to 1D4Con, and it's great. It packs up in the size of essentially a tiny, like an envelope. You can fit 180 minis into an envelope. Super lightweight. Really flexible in what they have. Where's the someone here? Yeah, there we go. These are all the minis that you get. Look at that. Isn't that great? I love this stuff. I tried to put as many minis in here that can fit in for many things. The one thing that's missing that drives me a little crazy are kobolds. There's no kobolds in here. You have to use goblins or something. But I did, however, find that the fine folks at is it JP? What are they called? The Trash Mob? Here we go. JP Creations. Trash Mob Minis has a kobold set that costs $8. There they are. Kobold Army. If you want to add, this is the one thing I would add to my Sly Flourishes kit. $8 gets you 30 30 kobolds, and the stands are compatible with the stands from Arknight, so you can just fit these right into your regular kit. The other one are gnolls. There's a couple different kinds of gnolls, so there are definitely gnolls here that and snake people and stuff, and dinosaurs. So if you want to augment your set of Sly Flourishes flat plastic minis, I highly recommend these the Trash Mob minis, and the guy JP from JP Productions, he will laser cut them and send them to you for $8, and they're excellent quality. They're as lightweight as they're probably about 1.5 times the thickness and weight, so they're a little heavier. I don't think they're actually heavier. I'm not sure that they're heavier, but they're a little thicker, but almost not noticeable. And you can get dinosaurs. Look at the dinosaur packs, for your Tomb of Annihilation games. You can get snake people. There's actually, so he does both Trash Mob minis, and he also does Printable Heroes. And Printable Heroes has some excellent, a little less cartoony. Like these guys, as you can see, they've definitely got a cartoon feel to them. There's more scales. those are your definite Yuanti, right? And bugbears and stuff. But he's definitely got more, a bigger, more cartoony for those guys. But here, the Printable Heroes ones. Oh, it looks like he redid this. Oh man, he redid his whole thing. Look at this guy. Look at, if you want an Orcus, look at that Orcus. It's big too. I bought the Demogorgon one because I don't have a Demogorgon mini. I've got this guy though, so I don't really need an Orcus. I've got the actual big Orcus. I bought that a while ago, and it's significantly cheaper than it costs now. Oh, what else is on your guys' mind, man? What's the big deal? D&D's the world of D&D. I'm on a 2-week writing sabbatical right now. I was finishing up the Lazy Dungeon Master workbook and the review of the final edits for Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. So I took 2 weeks off to focus on that, and it's been great. But I've also been kind of like into the D&D news, and it's quiet. I guess we're like before that pre-Morden Canaan's area. There's just not a lot going on. I don't know. Somebody needs to start some drama. It's like now, stay with some of the buddy. My buddy, when I go on gaming conventions, is my wonderful wife. We always go to our conventions together, and it's great to have one other person who loves gaming as much as we do, and we can go and sit and talk and have lunch, and we're not with 50 people, and it's easy to get around, but you still have somebody that can help you out. So, sorry, I'm still talking about gaming conventions. Oh, what else? I don't know. I got nothing else going on. Maybe I'll call this Twitch done. Last chance for any interesting topics you want to talk about. Last chance for now. How is the video quality on this? Are you enjoying is the video quality a little bit better than previously? I'm running a 1080p. I'm trying to run at high res, and I want to make sure there's no frame rate. But I think this is where I'm on a gigabit Fios line now, and I was really hoping that the upload speed, which is supposed to be a gigabit up, would be able to handle HD up and without any issues. So yeah, good. I'm glad the text is easy to read. And I was getting crazy frame rate drops on my other one, so that was a real shame. What else? I'm not sweating, man. I'm cool. It's in the basement. It's cool down here. My dog's sleeping right next to me. Hello, puppy. You good boy. You want to see my dog? Let's see if I can show you my dog. Oh, I don't know if the cable's gonna reach. Oh, there he is. Do you see him? Hello. You're cracked right there, the dog. That was probably not worth doing. Let's see what that does to the bandwidth. Let's see. Can you see him? Yeah, I see the dog. Oh, he's such a cutie. I love my dog. He's an old guy. He's about 12-year-old shepherd. What else? I don't know. I got nothing else for you guys. So have a great night. Grant, good luck with your game tonight. I don't know if you're like me, but no matter how many games I run, I always feel that nervous energy before a game. Like, oh, this is going to be the one that sucks. Sometimes it's true, but most of the time it's not. But I thank you all for coming out, and I will do this again soon. Have a great evening.